Chapter 57, Apollo's Banquet 01. Third-person POV. Orario, Apollo's mansion. After exchanging greetings, we began to enter the mansion together at that moment. Hestia had also invited Takemikazuchi, but since he had already arrived, we didn't need to wait. As we entered the festive hall, Lucius was the first to notice the splendor of the decoration that adorned every corner of the luxurious space. The atmosphere was infused with energy, with gods and goddesses engaged in lively conversations and laughter, exchanging stories and greetings. Members of divine families interacted, their smiles and gestures filling the place. However, our small group slid almost unnoticed among the illustrious guests. Lucius and his fellow adventurers found themselves in a more bustling environment than depicted in the original anime, a profusion of colors and voices filling the air. The presence of two members with each god resulted in an eclectic crowd of adventurers from all corners of Orario. The buzz of the crowd was accompanied by the clinking of glasses and contagious laughter. The elaborate decoration, filled with luxurious details, provided a dazzling sight. Bright chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a soft light over the attendees, while floral arrangements adorned the tables with elegance. The mix of vibrant colors and the subtle glow of candles created a magical and festive atmosphere. Entering Apollo's party was not only visually impressive but also immersive, with fragrances of exquisite food dancing in the air. The initial impressions were of a grand celebration where every detail contributed to the magnificence of the occasion. As we delved into the party hall, an elegant stage revealed itself in front of us. On it, a group of skilled bards produced an enchanting melody that served as a soothing background. The music, though not overly lively, had a captivating cadence, filling the environment with a charming atmosphere that set the stage for the upcoming festivities. The soft light from the stage highlighted the presence of the musicians, creating dancing shadows on the walls. The absence of dancers, for now, did not diminish the quality of the performance, as the melodious notes filled the hall, enveloping everyone present in an aura of elegance. While absorbing the musical atmosphere, our gaze was drawn to a peculiar golden-haired god. His enthusiasm was evident, and he quickly stood out from the crowd upon noticing our group. His eyes sparkled with recognition and joy as he approached, breaking through the party's commotion. Oh, Hestia and Mike. Belkuin, Lucius Kuin, and Nazachan too. The god's voice, brimming with enthusiasm, echoed through the hall. His expansive gesture and warm smile indicated a genuinely warm welcome. The curious looks of other guests turned towards us, creating a brief pause in the gradually fading music. The expressions of our group varied. Bel, with his more reserved nature, displayed a polite smile. Naza, on the other hand, maintained an elegant posture, but her eyes revealed a touch of pleasant surprise. Ah? Scandalous as always, Hermes. I'm surprised Takemikazuchi is with you too, Hestia grumbled, her expression revealing a mix of displeasure and surprise. We're not together because I want to be, Takemikazuchi muttered beside her, his stern expression indicating a certain discomfort with the situation. Don't be like that, Takemikazuchi. Hermes hugged him from the side, smiling as he continued to speak. We worked together to protect Bel and the others, remember? Not very enthusiastic about Hermes' gesture, Takemikazuchi grumbled, asking to be let go. Hermes, however, ignored the complaints, maintaining the hug with a relaxed smile. Yes, and that resulted in two giant Goliaths. Hestia couldn't help but mention with regret. Although she didn't show remorse, the memory of the imposing monsters still weighed on her mind. The decision to confront them, however, was something she would do again if necessary. But everything was resolved, thanks to Belkuin and Lucius Kuin here. Hermes let go of Takemikazuchi and stepped forward to the mentioned ones. His expression was one of genuine joy and admiration. You guys aren't bad for heroes, Hermes said, laughing casually. Bel, embarrassed, lowered his gaze, while Lucius, with his usual calmness, observed Hermes without revealing much emotion. He was aware of Hermes' peculiar personality, knowing that anything could be expected from the messenger god, especially when it came to promoting new heroes or elevating their names. I'm afraid of what this guy might try when we're already gaining notoriety. Lucius whispered to himself, his eyes scanning the various guests who were now watching them, especially because Hermes had the habit of speaking loudly. Mikoto and Naza look beautiful, but look here, Hermes announced in a theatrical pose, pointing to one side of the hall. My Alphi is great too, isn't she? He said, displaying his commander next to another family member. A wave of embarrassment took over her in the face of sudden attention. Stop it, Hermes-sama, or I'll really hit you. Alphi protested, stuttering with shyness in the face of the new attention she was receiving. Hermes approached her and whispered something in her ear, prompting a well-applied elbow that sent her flying to the other side of the party, eliciting laughter from some guests. For now, everything is in the anime, now Apollo should appear, Lucius thought, and his guess proved correct when a new voice echoed through the party hall. People, thank you for coming. Apollo appeared at the highest part of the hall, accompanied by 3 other members who stood in the background. However, Lucius, with his ability to detect life, sensed the presence of a few more hidden and strategic points of the hall. There are 3 showing now, but there are also 9 hidden. Or was this security already present in the original? Or did something make him increase his security at this moment? Lucius couldn't help but mockingly question. Is this the god Apollo? Bell asked, his gaze fixed on the god. Yes, it seems so, Makoto replied. Today, I decided to have a banquet a little different from the usual, Apollo announced, his voice echoing through the hall. Are you enjoying it? Dressing up your beloved children and bringing them to a banquet like this isn't a big change, is it? Apollo asked calmly. Yes, Apollo. The gods and members of the families present responded with enthusiasm. Brilliant. I'm loving it. The gods and guests expressed approval with cheers and nods. I'm glad to see many Tenkai fellows with their children. Today will be a night of many meetings and connections, Apollo declared, turning his head in our group's direction. I feel it. He had bright eyes as he fixed his gaze on Bell and Lucius. Apollo's penetrating gaze made it clear that something deeper was happening, creating a palpable tension in the air. Great. This guy is a pervert and looking at me strangely. Can I launch a fireball at him if he bothers me? Lucius murmured to his family members, and Mayak and Naza, hearing this, were stunned on the side. All right, the night is long. I wish everyone a good banquet. He concluded the speech, looking at everyone. After that, Apollo descended from his platform to mingle with his guests. While Hermes was talking about how Apollo could be vengeful, Bell and the other members were talking to Takamikazuchi and Mayak, and Hestia was devouring the banquet quite extravagantly. Meanwhile, a new commotion broke out in a corner of the hall, drawing everyone's attention. Freya entered with Otter and Hythe. Otter was a character Lucius already knew, but he didn't know who the red-haired girl on the other side of Freya was. Everyone at the party had stopped to witness the glory of the strongest family in Orario. The Freya family. Many shouted, looking mainly at Freya with desire. Suddenly, Freya turned her way as in the original and went straight to where Bell and the others were. Hestia, Takamikazuchi, Mayak, and Hermes, good to see you again, she said with a seductive tone, making the 3 men blush as they were scolded by their daughters at the same time. Freya looked at Bell and approached him, commenting that she would have sweet dreams with him, which made Hestia jump on him. Lucius was in a corner, uninvolved, while sipping whiskey on the rocks. He wasn't interested in joining them now, just enjoying the show. However, Freya suddenly turned to him, making his hair stand on end, wondering why this sudden attention. He knew Freya had glanced at him a few days ago, but this wasn't something he was expecting. If it isn't Hestia's new son, she said, approaching while putting a hand under her chin as she did with Bell. But something unexpected happened before Hestia could jump on Lucius too, to prevent him from being enchanted by the goddess of love. This was exactly what Freya was doing at that moment, as Lucius was not a character who feared the gods. This was noticed by the goddess in front of him, making her eyes sparkle with a dangerous tone. But suddenly, a hand grabbed the hand under her chin, making Otter stiffen behind Freya, and that red-haired girl stared with intense eyes as if ready to kill the owner of that bold hand at any moment. For her, touching her goddess was an unforgivable act. The hand, of course, belonged to Lucius himself, who politely removed the fingers from the goddess on his chin and looked directly into the eyes that were trying to enchant him. I'm not interested, he simply said, turning and walking away, completely ignoring Freya, who stood still, observing Lucius. A silence formed seconds later, and no one understood what was happening. Even Hestia, who was ready to jump and cover Lucius's eyes, fell stunned to the ground. Hey, did he really reject Freya? A god commented in the crowd. Yes, he really did. I've never seen someone do that before, said another. How can he resist Freya-sama? I'm having a hard time not thinking about her now, a child from some family said. How can someone be so rude and dismiss the most beautiful goddess? Said another. Can he resist her charm? That's quite interesting. Hermes couldn't help but comment with a calculating look. Freya-sama, Otter asked, a little concerned inside, but his voice came out neutral. He's much more interesting than I imagined. she commented as she began to walk again without looking at Lucius anymore. Come on, I don't think Hestia would like me here, close to her children, Freya said with a calm smile. Freya-sama, I can't let this humiliation pass. Hythe growled beside her, not liking at all how things had happened now. She already hated that human who dared to refuse Freya in public. Don't do anything. This actually made me even happier and more interested, Freya said with a calm smile. As they walked away, Lucius rejoined his acquaintances. That was quite brave, interesting, and bold. Hermes commented beside him. Lucius just looked at him, receiving a smile from the same god. Deep down, Lucius breathed a sigh of relief. He had his doubts about whether he could handle Freya's charm as he did with Ishtar. In the end, the result was quite positive for him. You managed to resist her charm, but be careful, Hestia warned seriously, not liking how Freya approached her children. It's all right, Lucius calmly spoke. There you are, Chibi. A new voice reached the group's ears before anyone else could say anything. The group turned to find Loki with Ace on one side in her original dress and Riveria on the other side in a dress. Their green eyes met his for a brief moment, sending a spark of recognition and perhaps something more. The green dress seemed tailor-made, gracefully highlighting every curve, and Riveria's refined features shone amid the party lights. Riveria's elegance did not go unnoticed, and Lucius couldn't help but think how stunning she looked at that moment. Belle looked surprised at Ace while Hestia took a step forward. When did you get here? She shouted and continued. You're so bland I didn't even see you coming. Hestia mocked. Shut up, idiot. If you want to know the problem, it's with that Freya bitch, stealing all the spotlight when she entered, from me, my precious Ace, and Mom. Loki shouted again. As the two goddesses began their usual argument, Ace nudged her goddess, asking her to introduce Belle. Meanwhile, Lucius approached Riveria when almost no one noticed because everyone's attention was on the heated discussion between Hestia and Loki. This dispute seemed to be great entertainment even for the gods present. Lucius took advantage of the moment of distraction to initiate a more private conversation with Riveria, who now seemed more approachable than ever. Hello, Miss Riveria. I must say you look stunning, Lucius said without a touch of shame in his voice. Thank you. You don't look bad either. Of course, Riveria wasn't used to this kind of attention, and knowing Lucius, she already expected something like this. So, he made her stutter in her first words, and her blush became even stronger. Anyway, how are your studies? Suddenly, his voice became serious without any hint of shame. So, she changed the subject quickly and turned into strict and ruthless teacher mode. Lucius lamented, already realizing that he had lost his chances with some flirts now. I'm reading. I've already read 8 of them, Lucius said with a certain pride, which left Riveria with a surprised look. You've read more than half? That's good, but let me test your knowledge. Did you read them in the order I assigned? She said with a stern voice, not sounding like we were still at a banquet. Yes, you can ask your questions, teacher. Lucius said with a smile. Introduction to Ancient Elven Magic and Its Fundamentals, Volume I. Who wrote it? She asked. Ceruleus Carpthon, an elf who lived secluded in the royal forest of Alf his entire life. He wrote his theory over 600 years ago, Lucius said. Give me a summary of his theory, she said. While Lucius commented on what he had read, Loki was staring at Belle at that moment. He's one of your toys I saw the other day, Chibi. He's so bland. The other one is more interesting, but he's dangerous. I can't let him near Mom. By the way, wasn't he here? Huh. Not even Riveria is reprimanding me now, which should be normal in my mischief. Where is she? Loki, realizing that Lucius was not present with Riveria, all her internal fears erupted. MOM. She quickly shouted, looking for the emerald-haired elf. He was a half-elf who studied magic with the phallic potential of the gods. While Riveria listened to Lucius talk admirably about his second recommended book, they both stopped when they heard Loki scream. Don't get close to Mom. Loki shouted when she saw the two and advanced as much as her legs allowed. She quickly reached them and made them move away from each other. Don't get close to him, Mom. He will corrupt you. Loki cried with a tearful face. No one will corrupt me, Loki-sama. Please, you're making a scene here. Contain yourself. Riveria scolded her severely. Give me a hug, Mom. Your goddess is vulnerable. She shouted as she jumped at Riveria, but the elf just dodged the hug, making Loki fall to the ground with her face cushioning the fall. BOHO. My daughter doesn't love me anymore. She traded me and was corrupted by a magician from the Chibi family. Loki began to cry, making everyone feel second-hand embarrassment, especially Riveria, who was red at that moment. Do you need some time to deal with her? Lucius asked the embarrassed Riveria next to him. I believe so. Sorry, Riveria mumbled. It's okay. I can understand. Lucius spoke calmly in the midst of this mess. While Riveria began to drag Loki on the ground even as she moved away, Ace followed without expression. I looked at my acquaintances while they were quite stunned by all that. Wait, are you and that Loki damn magician having an affair or something? Hestia asked suspiciously. Why does everyone think that? Of course not. I mean, not yet. Lucius grumbled. Chapter 58, Apollo's Banquet 02. Third-person POV. Orario, Apollo's mansion. The banquet continued, and while Lucius was drinking alone, he spotted Belle in a corner outside the hall. Determined, he headed towards the little rookie. On the way, he passed one of the tables and picked up 2 glasses of drink to accompany them and continued his way. He calmly walked up to the official commander of his family, as Lucius was never entirely interested in forming a team or taking on that responsibility. He always believed that Belle would have that role with the family, while he pursued his dives practically alone, adopting more of a lone wolf style. The first thing he noticed when he left the hall for the balcony was the starry sky. This world always intrigued him. Despite being in the busiest city on the planet, there were many parts with breathtaking views of the Genkai. I see you're here alone, Lucius said, putting a smile on his face as he approached the solitary Belle on the mansion's balcony. Lord Lucius, you're here too, Belle commented. I came when I spotted you. Why are you here alone? I thought you might want to talk to the young A's, since we're at a social gathering, the older man teased. What? Of course not. I mean, yes, no, not really. Belle stumbled over his words as his face turned redder with embarrassment. Take this drink, it will help you deal with it. Lucius handed an extra glass to Belle. Belle, who was so nervous and didn't know how to hide his face after that question and his current embarrassment, quickly took Lucius's glass and drank without realizing the contents. When he realized he was drinking whiskey, his face turned green from the strong drink, and he spit out everything in his mouth quickly. What the devil is this? Belle cursed. Hey, that's a good drink. Don't spit it out like that. Lucius scolded. But I don't even drink. The small adventurer protested. I think you're right. Listen, Belle, don't tell this to the goddess Hestia, understood? Lucius quickly said, not wanting to hear that lowly reprimanding him for giving alcoholic drinks to Belle. HM? Why? Just don't tell her, under any circumstances. Lucius almost threatened him with an intense look. Yes, sir, he said quickly, and Lucius smiled amusedly right after. Look there, Belle, our newest friend. Lucius changed the subject as soon as he saw Hyacinthos meeting Soma in the garden as in the anime, but he wanted to make a show here. That Belle let slip. Hey, Belle, don't be like that. Isn't he a great friend? Listen. Hey, Hyacinthos. The sudden shout made Belle quickly cover his ears, while both Hyacinthos and Soma looked quickly to the balcony at the sudden shout. There, they saw Lucius on the balcony, which made the captain of the Apollo family look at him with hatred. Since he saw Lucius in the hall, his first instinct was to make him pay for all that humiliation he suffered a few days ago, but he held back following Apollo-sama's plans. Long time no see. How are you? The last time I saw you, you looked like a stray dog in a dirty alley. Your face seemed uglier than a reekling, which is a goblin, not to mention your pathetic show of strength that. Shut up. Say one more thing, and I'll kick you out of here by force. Hyacinthos, unable to bear it any longer as his name along with these insults were heard throughout the mansion's courtyard. Perhaps inside the party, it could be drowned out with the bard's band, but all the gods and adventurers who were outdoors heard it and began to whisper and laugh at those words, wondering who that man on the balcony was talking like that to the host banquet captain. Even with the threat and the tone of hatred, the other party seemed to ignore it and continue to mock. Don't talk like that. We're friends now. We didn't have our fun time a few days ago. We played that quite entertaining game, while you were the stray dog and I was your owner who left you in the alley. The voice echoed again through the mansion's entrance, making many look stunned while others covered their mouths to avoid laughing out loud. You will pay for this. I'm telling you, I swear you will regret this. Damn you. Hyacinthos shouted with fury and stormed out, ignoring Soma and the other stares. Hey, what the hell was that? Belle commented stunned, not believing what he had just done. Didn't I say we were friends? That's how friends are. Maybe I can teach you how to make friends too, since I'm the older brother here, Lucius said, smiling, making Belle sweat at that statement. He didn't think he would learn anything good or anything that matched his character from Lucius. He clearly isn't your friend, Belle exclaimed, unable to bear that absurdity any longer. You're too young to understand, lad. When you grow up, you'll learn, Lucius said as if he were a wise man, but Belle didn't seem to believe him. Hey, what was that shouting? It even drowned out the bard's music inside the hall. A new character arrived, and unsurprisingly, it was Hermes again, while scratching one of his ears with his pinky finger, feigning pain. At the same time he approached us. Well? Belle was about to give an excuse, but Hermes silenced him before he could say anything. First of all, young Belle, aren't you going to dance? Hermes said with a mischievous smile. I've never tried, Belle said timidly, a bit lost with the sudden question. You're at a party, a place full of beautiful women. You have a chance to get to know them. But if you're not going to dance, I will, Hermes said, stunning the young man in front of him as he began to move away from Belle and Lucius. Lucius looked amused at this, despite knowing the manipulative side of this god. He knew Hermes had a good sense of humor in the end. Belle was stunned when Hermes stopped in front of Ace, who was alone in a corner near them. Riveria should have been with her, but she was trying to get Loki and Hestia to stop fighting, as another commotion started again when they bumped into each other at the banquet. As in the show, Hermes made up an excuse and asked Belle to dance with the sword princess, while the boy was too nervous to speak to Ace. Hermes pushed him to face the sword princess and returned to Lucius's side. They make a beautiful couple, don't you think? He asked, trying to start a conversation. They remind me of the story of the Argonauts. Lucius couldn't help but comment. A hero, his princess, and a minotaur in. Hermes seemed to like the idea as he put his hand on his chin, commenting. But what about you, Lucius Cohen? I don't think you're so shy about asking a certain elf to join you on the dance floor. Hermes insinuated with a mischievous smile. I could try, but elves already have aversions to physical contact. Imagine a high elf with royal status. I doubt she would agree. It would only end up being an undignified act on my part. Lucius said calmly. She doesn't seem to be averse to you, from what I could see. He said with amusement and continued. Anyway, I have to take care of two goddesses so they don't disrupt the dances of the younger ones. This will also free up your elf, giving you a chance. Now, whether you'll take advantage of it or not, that's up to you. He said, smiling as he walked to intercept the two loud goddesses as soon as they noticed Ace and Belle dancing. Lucius remained silent as Hermes walked away. After a while Belle danced with Ace, the young mage of Hestia saw the result of Hermes's machinations. This guy is a manipulator, but sometimes he gives you great opportunities. I can't deny that, Lucius thought as he looked at Asphi holding Hestia and Loki in each of her arms around her waist, while Riveria stood slightly lost on the side. Lucius sighed and, after gathering some courage, finally took the initiative to approach her. He noticed that the hall was even more crowded than before, but he kept his eyes fixed on the emerald elf, no longer caring about the people around him. Hello, I see you've been quite busy, Lucius commented as he reached the side of the elf and looked at the goddesses being held by Asphi, who seemed to ignore the protests of the divine beings in her arms while giving a disapproving look to her own god, Hermes, who had asked her to perform this quite embarrassing task. It's true, it's not easy when the goddess Loki and the goddess Hestia are together. It's always like this, she calmly commented, but seemed frustrated with the immature personalities of those goddesses. Now that the situation is under control, why don't we enjoy a dance? Lucius, wasting no more time, smiled with his best smile at those words. He went straight to the point since if she questioned him again about the recommended books, she would become an impenetrable ice wall in teacher mode, where Lucius would have less than zero chances of flirting or inviting her to dance. Even now, he didn't have much hope that she would accept. Do you want to dance with me after what happened on the 18th floor? She asked in a questioning tone, narrowing her eyes. Come on, it wasn't that bad. I never hid my intentions, and I don't regret anything that happened. Lucius grinned shamelessly at the elf. Riveria blushed and stared at Lucius for a while, thinking about how bold this human was, but deep down, she liked his presence, and he had proven himself intelligent and diligent with the task she assigned him. Okay, but just one dance, she finally said, which pleasantly surprised Lucius. That's good. Lucius smiled radiantly and knelt before his lady, making a classic gesture of an invitation to dance. Would you give me the honor of this dance, milady? He gave a playful look to the elf as he extended his hand to her, waiting for Riveria to take it. With a touch of blush on her face, Riveria extended her fingers and delicately touched his hand in response. I would be flattered, she said with a shy tone. Feeling the lady's hand, Lucius slowly stood up and led her to the center of the hall. Once they reached a good spot, he turned gently to face the lady in the emerald dress, matching her natural colors. Lucius admired her beauty for a few seconds before raising the hand connected with hers next to their bodies, while slowly placing his free hand on her waist, ready to start their dance. Chapter 59, Apollo's Banquet 03. Third-person POV. Orario, Apollo's mansion. Lucius admired her beauty for a few seconds before raising the hand connected with hers next to their bodies, while slowly placing his free hand on her waist, ready to start their dance. I believe you have impeccable dance skills, don't you, princess? He smiled at her while asking, never taking his eyes off her emerald orbs. I learned a bit from my friend, Aina. We used to practice in my quarters many years ago in the forest of the High Elves, she said categorically, as if experiencing a nostalgic feeling. This surprised Lucius with the elf's expression. It's the first time I've seen you smile like this. Lucius couldn't help but comment with a raised eyebrow. What do you mean? She countered with a question. Meanwhile, Lucius began to lead the elven beauty in the midst of so many couples on the dance floor with the first steps. Even Belle and Aze were dancing there. I always see you with a serious or uncomfortable face. It's the first time I've seen you look so, let's see. Natural, I believe that's the right word. Lucius laughed amusingly while the elf inclined her head to his chest, consumed by the embarrassment of facing this bold human mage. While this woman was consumed by the embarrassment of the declaration, Riveria naturally followed Lucius's steps, who led the dance, and it was something that surprised her too. After a while, her state of embarrassment passed, she looked at the man in front of her, lifting her head, revealing a look that conveyed surprise and perhaps a hint of admiration. And you, what's your story with the ability to dance? You seem quite natural at it too. She praised him as he took control here, with quite splendor in her opinion. My family is noble. I grew up with some lessons about things my parents expected from one of their children and hoped I wouldn't embarrass the family. So, I had many lessons on language and writing, laws, etiquettes, dance, and military training, a complete package, you know? Lucius joked with a wink in the last part. Riveria laughed pleasantly at this, exposing another natural smile. Ha ha ha, I understand. I can relate because I didn't have a very different life from yours then, she said with good humor. So, a dance to our families and the expectations they held for us. I disappointed my family. I don't know about you, Lucius announced and continued to dance with the response of a playful laugh from the elf. Well, I guess we are more alike than I imagined, she had to admit as she followed Lucius. They didn't even notice how time was flowing around them, each step of Lucius in perfect harmony with the background music. As the dance continued, they became the center of the place, as Lucius merged the dance style he learned in this world with that of his past life, creating a unique and eye-catching aspect. Riveria, in turn, could only follow him as he tossed and twirled her several times, but she was naturally enjoying it. Lucius guided Riveria in smooth turns, keeping her close before releasing her gently, creating a feeling of lightness and fluidity. In a special moment, Lucius spun Riveria while holding one of her hands, and she extended the other as if tossing petals into the wind. At moments, they glided across the dance floor in coordinated steps, maintaining a charming closeness as they moved with grace. The gracefulness of Lucius's movements, combined with the beauty of the elf, drew curious looks from everyone around. The hall seemed to revolve around them, as if the dance were a magical manifestation transcending time and space. The sparkle in Riviera's eyes indicated that she was not only surprised by Lucius's skill but also enjoying the experience of being led by this intriguing mage. Mom, she's being corrupted. Loki couldn't help but cry, looking at the couple that attracted the most attention on the dance floor. Lucius Kuhn, don't get involved with that damned Loki's daughter, Hestia shouted beside her. The two goddesses made a scene for the entertainment of those close to the area. It looks like our heroes are having quite a bit of fun. Hermes couldn't help but look amused at the two pairs he subtly paired, while Asphi looked at him huffing, as she had the task of keeping those goddesses from interfering with the ball. Isn't that the elven princess? How can she be dancing with a human? Someone in the crowd of spectators spoke. That's surprising. Are they a couple? I mean, she has the purest elf lineage. I doubt it's a romantic relationship. They're just dancing. That's true. I never imagined Larful Joe's elf allowing his only daughter to be involved with another race, tarnishing the purity of his lineage. Anyway, it's quite interesting. A beauty like Princess Riveria is coveted by many, but no one has ever come close to anyone. It's the first time I've seen her so close to the opposite sex, but you have to admit they're really good. I've never seen anyone dance so well. I'll invite him to dance with me. Besides dancing, that man is quite handsome too. I think they make a beautiful couple. The princess seems happy. Do you think this will cause any tension between the families? Elves are very protective of their lineage. He is that mage from the Hestia family. Yes, Lucius Drachner. I heard rumors that he humiliated Hyacinthos a few days ago, and now he's at this banquet from Apollo's own family. Yes, that's the one, Lucius Drachner. He's been causing a stir lately. I hope they keep dancing. It's like a show. Fufufufa. It seems that tonight will be even more interesting than I thought it would be. Some show will begin soon. While the gossip and murmurs were heard among the spectators, Lucius was unaware of these comments as he spun Riveria once more to conclude this dance. That was quite enjoyable, I admit. Riveria couldn't help but comment at the end when the bards finished the music and were about to start another. How about this lady granting me one more dance? Lucius asked, raising an eyebrow with a playful touch. It seems like my newest student is quite demanding. She countered with a smile and continued. But I can't be available for one more enjoyable dance. She responded with a smile, as these moments were rare for her, and she was finding them quite pleasant. So, with the first melodies of the instruments, Lucius took his first steps while Riveria followed shortly after. Strange. I believe Apollo should have already made his move with Hestia, but for some reason, he's still silent. While Belle and Ace were starting the new song together, Lucius thought as he danced with the elven princess. Any problem? Riveria asked as they danced, her thoughtful expression not going unnoticed by her. It's nothing, just had a strange thought, Lucius said and quickly changed the subject. They seem well. Lucius commented as he looked at the younger adventurer from his family with Ace. They do seem so. I'm happy for Ace. Riveria couldn't help but comment as she looked at them. She always saw Ace as an adopted daughter, whom she had instructed from a young age, and knew that she was consumed by the flames of revenge, so much so that she attacked a goblin of the man in front of her in a commotion some time ago due to her hatred for monsters. But Riveria was genuinely happy for the emotionless girl experiencing new things like a simple dance with the opposite sex, especially with someone who seems to like her a lot and she seems to reciprocate the same feeling. My precious Aiz. Mommy. My little Belle. Lucius came in. While they danced, there were two goddesses unable to enter the dance floor to stop all this absurdity. Seconds in their heads, they could only keep shouting their names. Lucius and Riveria just smiled at each other as they heard the antics of their goddesses. They were having fun there. Even though Riveria was quite reserved, she was experiencing new things like A's without realizing it. The music continued until it reached its limit, with Lucius making a playful Riveria, often laughing in surprise as he spun her rapidly while controlling the elf with his hands and feet. I think we can't have another song. Those goddesses need someone to control them. I don't want A's moment to be ruined now, so my student here must forgive me as I go try to control the situation, as Miss Asphi seems to be reaching her limit. Riveria said with a tone of regret. I understand, then I'll release you this time, but you owe me another dance some other day. He said, smiling. How demanding. Maybe I owe you another dance then. I just don't know when I could pay, as I intend to squeeze all your knowledge in the coming weeks. I won't tolerate lazy students, she warned, imitating Lucius's smile. For me, it's fine, but it's a debt you'll have to pay quickly, as I usually charge interest. Lucius said calmly. Ha ha ha, it's a deal then. She confirmed with a small, natural smile and began to walk away. After releasing Riveria to control the goddesses, Lucius prepared to leave the middle of the dance floor when he heard a voice calling him from behind. Hello, Lucius, could you give me a dance too? Hearing a female voice, Lucius turned to face this woman, waiting for him to take her hand to dance. He stared at her for a few moments with an indifferent face before accepting her outstretched hand and holding her waist to start their third song of the night. They began to dance in silence. Lucius didn't say anything while dancing with his new partner, but he stared at her, expecting some explanation of why this here and now. You already danced well, but I can tell you've significantly improved your ballroom skills. She commented in a playful tone while ignoring the questioning look from the mage. Let's get straight to the point. Tell me what you want. I'm not in the mood for games, Lidsey. Lucius got straight to the point. His mood wasn't as good as before, souring a lot compared to when he was with Riveria. HM? Is that how you treat me after a while? Have you forgotten about your ex-girlfriend, Lucius? She said, maintaining a neutral smile, not liking Lucius's treatment after almost 2 months without seeing him. Chapter 60, Apollo's Banquet 04. Third-person POV. Orario, Apollo's mansion. HM? Is that how you treat me after a while? Have you forgotten about your ex-girlfriend, Lucius? She said, maintaining a neutral smile, but she wasn't liking Lucius's treatment after almost 2 months without seeing him. He used to be quite easy to deal with. Now, he seemed like some kind of wall. After hearing these words, Lucius couldn't help but snort at it. The half-elf in front of him discarded him like a used piece when he was weak. Now she thinks everything is okay between them, as if nothing happened, and as if they continued being friends. As far as I remember, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. So, I'll ask you again, what do you want, Lidsey? Lucius had a neutral voice, showing that her presence wasn't welcome. Do you hold a grudge? She asked calmly. No, I actually don't hold any feelings. I don't even blame you. But you've shown yourself as someone I should treat indifferently, and I certainly don't intend to dwell on the past. Lucius scoffed. This woman wasn't someone he wanted to converse with. He just wanted to move on with his life. He has other goals and another love interest now. Just answer me one thing. She said slowly, not liking how Lucius was snubbing her. Why did you hide your strength all this time, and why show it as soon as you entered a different family? She asked. Why would I answer that to you? Leaving your family was the best thing that happened at that time. Lucius wasn't lying. Despite having to live like a beggar right after leaving, he was free to join any family he wanted or none at all with the help of the system since he could update his stats. He didn't regret choosing to enter Hestia's family. How can you say that? After all we went through together. I never betrayed you. We could have stayed together if you showed your magical prowess. She lamented, but Lucius wouldn't fall for this game. What nonsense. Lucius scoffed. I saw you dancing with Lady Riveria. She's not a woman you can have, Lucius. Lidsey said, thinking it was impossible for her ex, with the pure elven princess and lineage. Save me from these words and your jealousy, Lidsey. You saw me as someone weak at the time we broke up, someone who didn't deserve your attention. Where were you when I was expelled? I really don't hate you for it, but I don't intend to have any kind of relationship with you anymore. So, please stop trying to talk to me and move on with your life, all right? Lucius said with indifferent eyes as he distanced himself from her in the middle of the dance. Wait. Lidsey grabbed his arm, making him stop. What do you want? Can't you see I don't want to have any contact with you? Lucius spoke mockingly, wanting to get away. Heimdall-sama wants to talk to you. She said hesitating, finally revealing her intentions for approaching. Oh? Since you're here, it means he is too, obviously. Lucius said and continued. But tell him that I don't care about him, and it's better for him not to mess with me again. Tell him that the threat I made to Karina in the dungeon wasn't just words. Convey these words to that bastard. He'll understand what I mean. Lucius said, making Lidsey stunned. But HM. Lucius Cohen. Lidsey, who was about to speak, was interrupted as someone's but hit her side, making her fall in the middle of the dance floor even more bewildered. This even left the young man who was called by that voice stupefied by this sudden event. In front of him, in the place where Lidsey was until a few seconds ago, now stood a beautiful woman. She had blonde hair and emerald eyes that sparkled with her sensual white dress. Aphrodite. Lucius raised an eyebrow at the sudden presence of the goddess of love, whom he knew all too well, perhaps too well. I'm so happy to see you here, she announced with a seductive smile as she approached him, appearing quite familiar. Well, I can say the same for you, as you're saving me from such a boring situation. Lucius couldn't help but smile at the sudden appearance of this mischievous goddess. With her here, Lidsey would have no choice but to distance herself from them. But before Lucius could react, Aphrodite grabbed him in a dance position, smiled, and spoke softly as she rested her head on his chest. So, I did right by intervening. Why don't we take advantage and dance a little? You owe me that. She spoke calmly, and Lucius nodded. Ignoring Lidsey for a moment, Lucius enjoyed the next 2 songs with Aphrodite, surprising not only the goddess of love but also everyone around with his unique dance style. Lucius's graceful and captivating movements were a perfect match for the melody, creating a magical atmosphere in the hall. Aphrodite, initially surprised, soon surrendered to Lucius's captivating energy. Her eyes sparkled with admiration as she followed the wizard's bold and elegant steps. The goddess, known for her skill in seductive dances, found in Lucius a worthy partner, creating a symbiosis of movements that elevated the banquet's atmosphere even more. The audience around, already intrigued by the unlikely pair, was now completely engrossed in the unique performance. Murmurs of surprise and appreciation echoed in the hall. While Lucius, Aphrodite, and Riveria continued their captivating dance, The gazes of the present gods were fixed on this human who shared such intimate contact with the goddess of love. The atmosphere was charged with surprise and, for some, even jealousy. Freya, hidden in a corner with her children, couldn't hide the mix of emotions flooding her. This is making me jealous. I'm rejected, but Aphrodite was so well received by him, lamented Freya. Freya-sama, should I get rid of this man? Hythe asked angrily, not resorting to violence like most of his family, but expressing his indignation at what he considered an insult to the goddess. No, can't you see he's so interesting? Even Aphrodite seems enchanted by him. The goddess of love couldn't help but smile as she watched the couple dancing calmly. Let them be, Hythe. It seems Lucius has something special that attracts the attention even of goddesses. Aphrodite. Hestia shuddered beside Loki and Riveria, while the elf gave a strange look to the new couple dancing. As the music ended, a shadow appeared between the couple on the dance floor. Aphrodite, may I borrow this man for a moment? A new voice reached them when the music ended. They turned to the source and saw a woman with orange hair, a body and face above most mortals, approaching them. Demeter, what do you mean by borrowing Lucius-kun? Aphrodite protested, as she didn't want to stop dancing with the blonde man who had captivated her in recent weeks. Hello, Demeter. Lucius smiled at the woman. It's been a while since I last saw you, as you haven't appeared in my room for a while. Demeter said with a seductive tone. I've been quite busy lately. How have you been? Lucius asked amiably. I'm fine. You've become famous lately. I thought you had forgotten about this humble goddess. Demeter joked as she swung her breasts. Wait a minute. Do you two have a thing as well? Aphrodite exploded after hearing the whole conversation. Get out of here, Demeter. I saw him first, shouted the petite goddess as if they were fighting over something precious to her. You've already danced with him. I want him now, Demeter said calmly, but a vein could be seen on her forehead, barely visible, overshadowed by her beauty in a golden dress. No way, he's mine, Aphrodite shouted, grabbing one of Lucius's arms. Why are you so insistent? I doubt you can satisfy this man, Demeter said, looking at Aphrodite's breasts and comparing them with hers with a victorious look. What? How dare you? I am the goddess of love and fertility. Of course, he can fall in love with me, and I satisfied him very well the last time, she said angrily as her cheeks flared up, but she had a proud look when she spoke the last sentence, remembering the intimate encounter they had in the dungeon. Meanwhile, Lucius was caught in the middle of two goddesses fighting each other while his arm was being pulled. What's happening here? How can I get out of this situation? It was the only thing he could murmur as he was pulled like a puppet. What are those two goddesses doing with my son? Hestia on the other side shouted in amazement, while her heavenly colleagues caused a commotion in the middle of the dance floor over her unusual lover, her own son, attracting everyone's attention at the party. That damn brat, he wants to corrupt mom when he already has two divine lovers. Loki shouted next to Hestia with equal dissatisfaction. Riveria listened to this and held back as much as she could from hitting Loki, but she felt strange as she saw Lucius being torn between two goddesses, causing a kind of scandal. Am I jealous? She asked herself internally, feeling conflicted, a feeling she thought she wouldn't have with anyone, not in the next 100 years. Aphrodite-sama, Demeter-sama. The daughters of both goddesses seemed quite concerned. Look at this human again, first the elven princess, now two goddesses. Where does this luck come from? I didn't know that Aphrodite-san and Demeter-san shared a lover, and a mortal at that. How intriguing. That brat. How can he change so much in just 2 months? He used to be a waste. How can he have changed so much, to the point of becoming a lover of other goddesses? A relatively young man, blonde hair and arrogant purple eyes, spoke while looking at one of his daughters and asked, seeing her so disheartened after returning from a task he asked her to do with empty hands. Image of Heimdall, GOW Ragnarok. And he refused to come talk to me? The god asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, Heimdall-sama. He said to tell you that the threat he made to Karina wasn't just words. Lidzi said while also watching the scene. That little mortal. He thinks he can threaten me. I'm a god. How can he become so arrogant? You'll pay for this, Lucius-kun. I'll see you begging for forgiveness one way or another. Heimdall spoke with venom in his tone. This same god took a look around the party, while most were paying attention to the goddess's argument with the strange mortal. Heimdall's and Apollo's eyes met. There was a nod of understanding, and their eyes said that something would begin there. Suddenly, the lights went out. Lucius, who had one hand on each divine waist after calming the girls, looked at this scene with a small smile. So it begins. He murmured while detecting movements in the shadows and darkness through his spell, detecting life. Chapter 61. Apollo's Banquet 05. Third-person POV. Orario, Apollo's mansion. As soon as the lights went out, many people were stunned, both gods and their own children, but a part of them remained quite calm and curious, thinking that Apollo had organized some kind of event and entertainment in the middle of the banquet. Apollo appeared with a light above him to grab the attention of everyone present. "Everyone, I hope you're enjoying the banquet," he said, maintaining a friendly smile as he walked among everyone to the dance floor, standing in front of Belle with a smile that seemed quite unpleasant and disgusting to the poor young man. Another light covered Belle and Ace on the dance floor, illuminated by one of the adventurers in the dark. "Belkuin." Hestia stepped in front of Belle to protect him from Apollo as soon as she saw the eyes and smile of her former heavenly colleague. "HM? Hello, Hestia. I heard that your children had some trouble with some of mine a few days ago." "Oh, sorry about that." Hestia was nervous now, looking guilty. Lucius looked at this pathetically since they were the ones who planned this. There was no reason for his goddess to apologize in front of everyone. He found it humiliating. "Could you accept your apologies in front of all those present? My children were injured by them, so I want proper compensation," he said, forming a greedy smile. "Belle also came back injured. It wasn't our fault." Hestia tried to argue. "Can you still talk after seeing this?" Apollo struck a ridiculous pose, pointing his finger behind him, and a new light showed a Paolum, tied up all over the body, injured and disoriented with a quite ridiculous scene, in Lucius's opinion. "Ouch. Too much. Help me." The little hobbit screamed in the middle of all that staging. "These guys have no shame, do they?" Lucius said to himself, stepping away from the divine waist he had in his arms and starting to walk to where Apollo and his family were. "Lucius Cohen, what are you going to do?" Both goddesses couldn't help but ask as Lucius moved away from them. There was a tone of concern in them, as it involved Hestia and her children. "Me? I'm just going to join in on this fun too," Lucius said with a rather diabolical smile, leaving them stunned. "Belkuin, did you really do this?" Hestia was nervous, believing in this staging, much to Lucius's displeasure as he approached. "Of course not." Belle protested immediately. He was equally innocent and naive. "HM? But I have witnesses." Apollo pointed behind the injured Paolum, and other adventurers showed up with a new light on them, all with sadistic smiles on their faces. It didn't take a genius to figure out that they belonged to the Apollo family as well. This was staged. People in the dark murmured, the scene clearly obvious to them. Meanwhile, even Hestia saw this with angry eyes now. "This is nonsense. Let's find Lucius Cohen and leave." "Belkuin," Hestia said, ready to take Belle away. "You refuse to take responsibility, Hestia?" Apollo said with a crooked smile and raised his hands to emphasize his next words. "Very well. I challenge the Hestia family to a war game with my family, the Apollo family," he announced, leaving almost everyone stunned with that statement. "Awawa. Yes, a war game. That's so cool. Apollo is so brutal. I wanted to see this." "That's right. And if I win, I'll take Belle Cranel," Apollo announced. This alarmed Hestia, especially with Apollo's not-so-hidden intentions. Belle was nervous behind her due to these sudden events. It was in this excited moment that no one noticed some footsteps approaching behind Apollo. While everyone was imagining the expectations of seeing a war game, no one noticed a new individual in the center of the dance floor as he raised his hand calmly. Slap. The loud sound of the slap echoed through the hall, interrupting the commotion and creating instant silence. All eyes turned to the origin of the sound, surprised and curious about what could have caused this abrupt interruption. Hestia and Belle, who were closer to the scene, had eyes as wide as eggs, shocked by the sudden turn of events. However, they weren't the only ones. The rest of those present at that banquet were also stunned by the unexpected slap that reverberated through the hall. Apollo, who was smiling seconds ago, suddenly felt a sharp pain on the right side of his face, forcing his head to move to the opposite side. Startled, he staggered with the shock and ended up falling directly on the dance floor. Incredulity took hold of him, unable to comprehend how someone dared to hit him from behind. "Who dares?" Apollo's voice echoed as the only sound in the banquet, filled with fury. His enraged eyes quickly turned to the assailant, revealing a man in a black tuxedo, blonde hair, and a star tattooed on his forehead. Apollo's anger gave way to a stunned expression when he realized that the man was smiling at him as if he had found prey. The surprise wasn't limited to Apollo. Everyone present at the banquet was stunned witnessing Lucius assaulting Apollo without him being able to react. The shock was even greater because a mere mortal had dared to strike a god in front of their peers, apparently unconcerned about possible divine consequences. Apollo couldn't contain the cry of incredulity at what was happening. Everything seemed to be going well, and he was about to involve his friend Heimdall to accuse the mortal and try to recruit him for his family again. If you really want a war game, let's set aside all this theater. Lucius interrupted the silence that had settled, speaking with a mocking tone. And let's give you a real reason to have this game. Without waiting much, he pointed a hand in the direction of the Palom who was still pretending to be sick behind him. The Palom was alarmed by Lucius's hand pointing in his direction. It didn't take long for a 30-centimeter diameter fireball to form and be launched at him point blank. The surprise attack caught everyone off guard, breaking the tension of the moment and eliciting various reactions from the crowd. Firebolt. Without time to react, both the Palom and the Apollo family adventurers behind him were engulfed by the explosion. VOM. Ah, that hurts. Cries of pain echoed, but the explosion muffled their sounds for the rest of the people present. All adventurers instinctively positioned themselves in front of their gods, ready to protect them from this sudden chaos. Lucius demonstrated a behavior that none of them would ever dream of or had seen in their years in Jinkai. He assaulted a god and attacked his children like a ruffian in their own home, something that alarmed and left everyone bewildered. Hey, is this really happening? I can't believe what I'm witnessing. This mortal has guts, I have to admit. It's no wonder Aphrodite and Demeter are his lovers. Look at this human. So fearless. Hestia was paralyzed. She couldn't believe her troublemaker's son could act this way. What are you doing? Apollo shouted, alarmed, unable to believe that things were taking this turn. He had never been assaulted by a mortal in his life in Jinkai and never thought it would happen. He believed that, as a god, mortals should revere him, but now he realized how deceived he was. He thought no mortal would dare to attack a god, but there he was, deliberately being hit by one. And it didn't seem to be over, as Lucius's mocking gaze returned to Apollo. I'm just giving you what you want, you sex maniac. Now pretending innocence? If you want a war game, then I'll give you a good reason for it. Lucius said, starting to walk again and approaching an alarmed Apollo. Wait, Lucius, what are you doing? Hestia shouted in fear. She still struggled to accept that her son could be so fearless, not only openly attacking Apollo but also insulting him in the process. I'm giving him exactly what he wants, and he'll have this war game one way or another. At least, let's give a reason worth it, Lucius said with a malicious smile. As he walked up to the grounded Apollo, several adventurers from the same family rushed to try to stop Lucius from reaching their god, but it was already too late. Lucius lifted Apollo by the collar, with the sun god's frightened eyes. What are you doing? I'm a god. Slap. As I said, I want this war game to start with a good reason. You can't. Slap. Stop. Slap. 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 Lucius began to slap the god suddenly with his own hands, leaving everyone speechless. Apollo's cheeks turned red after the sequence of slaps, silencing him, unable to utter another word. Meanwhile, Captain Hyacinthos, who was quite far away, tried to prevent Lucius from further hurting his god. He ran with all his might to reach Hestia's mage. I will kill you for this. Hatred was evident in his voice. He already didn't have a good history with Lucius, and seeing him assaulting Apollo-sama in front of him drove him mad. Ah, you want him, don't you? Then take this. Lucius, seeing the man approaching, smiled as he tossed the god like a puppet onto that adventurer. Although he was a mage, Lucius had enough strength to throw the god quite easily, turning the divine into something akin to a kick dog. Lucius smiled as Hyacinthos quickly caught his god carefully, who was swollen in his cheeks, losing all the glory that showed until a while ago to look like a kick dog now. Stop this, Lucius. A new voice appeared with a new individual stepping in front of Lucius, almost before he could react. Seeing this new person and where the voice originated, Lucius smiled and calmly said, not caring about the at least 20 Apollo adventurers surrounding him at this moment. It's been a while since I've seen you, Captain. How have you been? Lucius directed his words to the man who, in times past, he had called commander when he was in Heimdall's family. Chapter 62, Apollo's Banquet 06. Third-person POV. Orario, Apollo's mansion. It's been a while indeed, Lucius. You look like an entirely different person. The level 4 commander of the Heimdall family, Loras IV, commented as he stared at Lucius a few meters away. True, but I'm in the middle of business here. Could you excuse us? Lucius said casually and calmly. He was already surrounded by members of the Apollo family, one step away from attacking him, while Hyacinthos remained to quickly attend to a dazed Apollo with red cheeks at the moment. You've gone mad? Attacking a god like this? I never imagined this from someone like you. Loras said angrily and quite unbelievably, since he never imagined the man who used to be quite weak and pitiful would gain the courage to act so boldly against a god, especially this man, who even threatened to kill Heimdall-sama after Karina returned from the dungeon a few days ago. Don't mind him. If he wants a war game so badly, then I'll give him a good reason, Lucius said, unconcerned about the anger of his former commander. While most of the present gods looked stunned, some looked angry and cautious towards Lucius, as they had never seen a mortal be so brazen. Others watched with a touch of amusement, enjoying a show they had never imagined before, since most gods came to Jinkai for pure entertainment, so this was massive entertainment. But even they were internally surprised, because no mortal would want to be a declared enemy of a divine being. Gods could have their arcanes blocked and not have much to do with their enemies in Jinkai, and they end up using their children for that. Still, in Tenkai, it's different. A god can be vengeful through their soul in the afterlife, so no one would be so bold as to harm a divine being. Even the criminal organization Evolus was cautious in that sense, but this didn't apply to Lucius, who smiled without caring about all these consequences. You're really daring and quite different from what I remember, Lucius Cohen. I've never seen this side of you. A voice entered the scene in the midst of that confusion, someone Lucius wasn't in the mood to see, but since he was already here, Lucius smirked mockingly. It's been a while since I've seen you, Heimdall, he said calmly. It's Heimdall-sama to you. Loras, who was in front of him, said angrily at the disrespect Lucius was showing to his former god. Calm down, Loras. It seems my former son, the one I expelled from my family, has become quite rebellious, he declared in a regretful tone, gaining many surprised looks and murmurs since no one knew about this event. Even Loki and Riveria expressed some surprise now that they knew Lucius was expelled from a family. That's true, and I must thank you, Heimdall, because continuing under your mediocre command would have kept me stuck at level 1 forever. Lucius taunted, making even the arrogant Heimdall, who had been quite arrogant until then, look angrily at Lucius. Who? So that's how it is. You speak like this after unjustly attacking my adventurers as well. You are so arrogant to attack two families like this, as besides attacking my family, you also participated in the beating of the Apollo family and attacked them openly at this banquet, Heimdall announced, gaining even more surprised looks since almost everyone didn't know about Karina's attack and the others on the 23rd floor, especially that Lucius brazenly threatened the god himself. Ha 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 ha. Lucius began to laugh loudly, causing astonishment from both divine beings and mortals present, who saw him laugh as if he heard a great joke. You're hilarious, Heimdall. 10 against 1, levels 4, 3, and 2 to snatch just one level 2. You know what the result was? Your family got beaten by me. Lucius had no fear of expressing this openly, gaining even more incredulous looks and a glint of anger from both Heimdall and his own commander, Loras. The gods now seemed to be genuinely enjoying all this confusion. A mortal was so audacious that it left them speechless, and he seemed to be embarrassing two families with just his words, leading to much gossip and even laughter at Heimdall and Apollo, which left the latter quite grumpy. They had a plan, but somehow, this human ruined everything. Even though it led to their real objectives, they didn't seem to like being approached this way. It was very humiliating, and no one expected Lucius, from the Hestia family, to have so much audacity, despite being historically arrogant. Do you really want to die, Lucius? You're surrounded. All members of the Apollo family are looking at you with deadly hatred. Have you lost your mind while insulting two families? You know I'm not Karina and can end you right here. Loras warned angrily, not liking much the responses Lucius was giving, embarrassing his god in front of so many others. Let's stop all this theater, Loras. I like to get straight to the point without beating around the bush or going through any schemes. You want a war game, so you'll get one. Lucius looked at both gods and shouted with a smile. I declare a challenge to the Heimdall and Apollo families in a war game. 2 families against 1. Do you accept? Lucius announced, gaining even more surprises in the place. People were really excited for a war game, but they never imagined things would unfold this way. It was brilliant. This? Really? Haha. So amusing. How daring. Meanwhile, Hestia and Belle fainted without him noticing, right behind him. You. Apollo shouted, already a bit better. That's good. If I win, I want you again in my family. Heimdall, who had already lost his patience, shouted at this moment with his declaration. And I want Belcranel. Apollo shouted at his side after getting up. Oh? Why do you want me back in your family? Haven't I been expelled already? Lucius taunted Heimdall, but he didn't respond, so Lucius continued. Anyway, we're accepting the war game. If we win, I want all your wealth and properties inside and outside Orario. I also want that girl right there. Lucius quickly pointed to a frightened girl with navy blue hair, while putting his hand on his chest as a form of protection after drawing attention from Lucius. Eh? Is this happening as I dreamed? She said, terrified and lost as if she had predicted all this. Her. Apollo couldn't help but raise an eyebrow to this, staring at Cassandra Ilion, wondering why this hateful human wanted her. He always found the girl quite pitiful and never paid her much attention for long. Of course, with Lucius's knowledge, he knew that Cassandra Ilion possessed the special ability, precognition, a hidden gift that can see images of the future, especially when crises are about to happen, but she has a kind of curse since no one can believe her. Yes, I want her in the Hestia family since the rest is just a waste, so I'm not interested. Lucius openly mocked, his disdain now gaining even more hateful looks from Loras and members of the Apollo family present. You'll pay for all this. Loras growled angrily, not liking how arrogant Lucius was now. Save your anger for the war game. You'll need it. Lucius taunted. Meanwhile, the crowd's voices continued. Hey, is this really happening? This mortal is so intriguing. 2 families against 1? Didn't you notice that it wasn't even little Hestia who issued the challenge? Yes, it was that human mortal. He took the lead. Look at the state of Hestia. Clearly, she's broken. I feel sorry for the virgin goddess. I remember she used to be quite clumsy and always cleaning her temple flame. Who would have thought she'd come to this world causing so much chaos with her children? Hestia already has the record holder. Now there's this man who not only hits a god but also challenges 2 families at the same time. Really, I never imagined seeing so many surprises from a human since I came to the Genkai. Haha. This is getting so much fun. I wish I had a child like that too. Hestia is so lucky. Damn Chibi, I wish I had such a fun child too. Loki couldn't help but complain, while crying next to his daughters, thinking about how his life would be never boring at all when causing chaos in the city with such a shameless mortal like Lucius by his side. Even though he was stealing mommy and was angry about it, she still recognized his value. Lucius. Hestia was very nervous, while Belle had already fainted under so much pressure and an extremely arrogant Lucius, unafraid to confront 2 gods and face a war with 2 whole families. Fufufu. This is really interesting. More interesting than I could imagine. How can a mortal like this still have such a simple soul in my eyes? He can hide it. Freya couldn't help but look fascinated by this, speaking as if she had found a treasure. Anyway, I hope to see you soon. Let's organize this event. I hope you don't run away. Lucius smiled at the 2 gods who looked stunned at the mortal. Shall we, Hestia? Belle? Lucius turned to leave. Even though he would like to stay a little longer dancing with Riveria and her friends, he knew he couldn't stay at the venue. However, when he turned to face his family, both seemed to be having some kind of convulsion while trembling and chattering their teeth. You initiated a war game. Lulu Lucius-san. Hit a god. They looked like 2 ghosts almost fainting. Lucius sighed at this and picked up both in each arm to leave the party. Well, hope to see you later. I'd love to kick your divine asses, both the sex maniac and my former arrogant god. Lucius announced at the exit, earning many laughs from those present. With that, his banquet night ended with him exposing a satisfied smile as he headed to the mansion's gate. Chapter 63, Apollo's Attack 01. Third-person POV. Abandoned Church, Orario. HUI, how long are you guys going to act like this? Lucius questioned impatiently, looking at the 2 paralyzed individuals, Belle and Hestia, as they arrived at the abandoned church. Seeing that both remained silent, Lucius let out an audible sigh, expressing his frustration at the lack of response. What happened to them? Lily exclaimed, astonished, observing the disturbing state of Belle and Hestia. Riekling couldn't help but express his bewilderment next to Lily. They're fine. We just had a bit of stress at the banquet. Nothing too unexpected, Lucius replied calmly, as if downplaying the situation. How can this be nothing unexpected? Look at their condition. Lily was visibly concerned about Belle, grabbing him and shaking him in an attempt to bring him back to his normal state. Lucius simply turned his back, ignoring both Riekling's suspicious expression and Lily's efforts to revive Belle. His posture indicated that he didn't want to deal with the emotional reactions of that moment and was focused on other thoughts. Anyway, I'll read my books before sleeping. See you later. The family mage simply left them in front of the kitchen while they were still in a state of shock, unable to react, much to the despair of the others. That night, Lucius dedicated his time to reading, immersed in his books and preparing for the upcoming events. He understood the need to strengthen his power before the imminent war game, which, following the canon, would become the castle game. Satisfied with his studies, he went to sleep peacefully, anticipating what was to come. The next day, Lucius woke up with Hestia completely out of control, hovering over him. It seemed she had recovered from the previous condition. Lucius, you put our family in a war. Against two families, on top of that. Hestia grabbed the young man's neck angrily and shook him while crying. HM? Good morning, Goddess Hestia. He murmured sleepily, as if the situation were not an urgent matter. Good morning, nothing. You put us against two families. She yelled at him, expressing her outrage at Lucius's recent actions. Don't worry, we would have had this fight anyway. I just advanced a few things to put on a show at the banquet. Lucius said, yawning, as if dealing with something routine. Look at the rest of our family. Hestia said, pointing to a depressed Belle, who had already recovered physically but was still trying to deny the reality. Lily was equally in a state of depression, and Riekling maintained a downcast look, aware of the gravity of the situation. Hey, let's have breakfast first, then we'll discuss everything we're going to face. How about that? Lucius suggested, making Hestia loosen her grip, watching him cross his arms. I hope you have a solution because I don't see how we're going to fight against those two families. They're levels 4 and 3. How are we going to win? She expressed her clear dissatisfaction and concern. Lucius ignored her and headed to the kitchen. He was the only one to boil water with the firebolt and prepare the first meal, as everyone else seemed quite dejected. While eating, he couldn't help but look at the other family members and comment. How long are you going to stay like this? You need to feed your stomachs because we'll need your strength in the next few minutes. Lucius said calmly, interrupting the melancholy that hung over the table. HM? What do you mean? Lily asked, confused. Lucius just looked at her for a brief moment before continuing. We have a group of adventurers preparing to blow this place up when we leave through that door, so you better get ready. His statement cast a shadow of shock over them. What? Hestia was the first to react, jumping in alarm. They're going to attack us. Belle asked, his face expressing alarm. Lily thinks we're screwed. The Palam murmured, disheartened. And how do you know this? Hestia couldn't help but look at Lucius, demanding explanations. I have a spell that can detect living beings. I can see at least 40 adventurers positioned on the roofs, all facing our direction. The walls don't limit this magic of mine. Lucius explained, and his revelation left everyone surprised, except Riekling. The small being's gaze already indicated that he might know more than he was letting on. What are we going to do? Lily asked, alarmed. Let's first secure the most important things underground so they can't be destroyed in the fight. Second, let's set up some traps since we'll catch the enemy by surprise. Lucius smiled as he outlined this plan, determined not to let the church be easily destroyed. He was resolved to turn the imminent attack into an opportunity to counterattack. Quickly, Hestia was the first to act, followed by Belle and Lily, who hurried to follow Lucius's instructions. Don't forget to eat. Lucius murmured to his frightened family as they ran to the corners of the church. Lucius finished eating and went to help his family, starting to store their belongings in deeper locations in the church, which would offer better protection against the impending attack. It's a shame I don't have any magical trap spells or anything in the stealth category. It would be quite useful in moments like this, Lucius thought while carefully storing his most precious possessions. What do we do now? Hestia asked fearfully, once they had stored all valuable belongings. We have no choice, we'll face them head-on. Lucius said calmly, as they didn't have another feasible plan. Yes. Belle commented with determination. Hestia and Lily, stay behind and move away when the fight can no longer affect you. Lucius said, heading towards the church door. Ready? Lucius smiled at Belle. The young rookie nodded. Let's start a show, Lucius said, making the motion to open the door. As soon as he ran out, the morning sun already illuminated the roofs filled with adventurers. Without wasting time, numerous fireballs materialized around him, each aiming at one of the adventurers nearby. The first wave of attacks was fast and relentless. The explosions echoed through the area, standing out against the morning light. Their targets were mercilessly hit, caught completely off guard. The stunning effect of these fire explosions gave Lucius the time he needed to advance towards the still disoriented adventurers. Boom, 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 boom. Firebolt! Bell shouted, adding an extra fireball and hitting someone from the enemy group. As they recovered from the stunned state, the adventurers retaliated by launching their own fire magic, directed straight at the church. Anticipating the imminent danger, Hestia and Lily ran to protect themselves and moved away from the area. Asterisk boom. Asterisk. The resulting roar of the explosions did not go unnoticed for those on the street. Chaos ensued, with curious onlookers trying to understand what was happening. The destruction caused by Lucius's first wave not only surprised the attacked adventurers, but the explosion from this attack was heard by at least 20% of the city, drawing the attention of part of the city illuminated by the early morning sun. Many gazes turned to the distant echo of the explosions. What is this? An explosion. Monsters. Don't be foolish. It's obvious that families are fighting each other. Will there be a war game? It's been months since the last one. Someone complained, knowing about the unfolding war game announced last night. I'm more concerned about the chaos here. They could save this for the war game and not destroy the city. Another commented, Isn't that where Belle lives? A waitress said, looking towards the commotion. Yes, I heard rumors about some problems with Hestia and Apollo. There was a banquet yesterday among the gods. Maybe something happened, meow. Another waitress spoke beside her. Belle, Seer said with concern. Meanwhile, in the midst of chaos, these damn bastards really destroyed our church. Lucius growled angrily, observing the aftermath of the chaos he had unleashed. The walls of the old church now displayed large breaches and debris. The roof, once intact, was partially collapsed, and charred debris covered the floor. The church collapsed, Belle exclaimed with concern. Lucius, aware that the abandoned church was only a temporary meeting point, felt a tightness in his heart witnessing the ruin of the place. This place, however ephemeral in its importance, represented a refuge for the Hestia family, and seeing its structures destroyed stirred a mix of emotions, including anger directed at those responsible for the invasion. Enough of this, let's teach them a lesson, Belle, he said and quickly ran forward. Determined, Lucius advanced towards the 40 adventurers positioned on the rooftops of the houses. His steps were agile and decisive, cutting through the space between them with speed. With a determined look, he raised his hands, and flames began to dance around him, coalescing into numerous fireballs. The intense glow of the flames reflected in his eyes, which emanated a mix of anger and resolution. Without hesitation, Lucius threw the fireballs towards the buildings, each one targeting one of the adventurers. The sound of impact and the subsequent explosions echoed through the environment, creating chaos of flames and debris. The adventurers, caught off guard, barely had time to react. Alarm cries filled the air as some tried to dodge, but most were hit by the flames. The scene turned into a chaotic spectacle of fire and smoke, with Lucius leading the attack with unwavering determination. As the explosions continued, the buildings were consumed by the fire, creating a curtain of flames that illuminated the scene of destruction. Lucius, advancing relentlessly, continued to cast his spells, leaving behind a burning and challenging trail. The message was clear. He would not allow his family to be attacked without a fitting response. Boom, boom, boom. Damn. We're getting hit here. Let's retreat. We've taught them a lesson. I don't intend to let this slide. Lucius growled and ran after them when they started trying to escape. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the structures as he cast fire spells in rapid succession, targeting the adventurers attempting to flee. The scene unfolded amid cries of alarm and confusion. The adventurers, once confident, were now in full retreat, seeking refuge on the roofs to escape Lucius's wrath. Some turned to retaliate, casting spells back in an attempt to stop their pursuer. Damn. Someone make this bastard stop. We're getting hit here, shouted one of the adventurers, while others retaliated, but they continued trying to shake off their pursuer. Meanwhile, seeing the abandoned church, Belle decided to stay to see if Hestia and Lily are okay. Belle, are you okay? Hestia took the initiative to return with Lily and found Belle with no sign of any enemies nearby at the moment. I'm fine, but Lucius went after them. What does he intend now? Lily has a bad feeling about this. During the pursuit, people on the streets looked up, confused and astounded, as fast-moving figures and magical sparks crossed the sky above them. The thunderous sound of spells and explosions echoed through the alleys, creating an atmosphere of chaos and urgency. Some instinctively sought protection, fearing that the magical confrontation would extend to the streets. Pedestrians hurriedly moved away, trying to find shelter and safety in the face of the unlikely and dangerous spectacle unfolding in the skies. Some murmured among themselves, trying to understand what was happening, while others simply watched, fascinated and apprehensive at the unusual magical clash taking place above their heads. Someone informed the guild. Call the Ganesha family. Boom, boom. Explosions were heard above the houses, with Lucius hitting Apollo's personnel who were retreating. Damn, can anyone stop him? Lucius looked to the side and saw something interesting at that moment. You like attacking others' homes, don't you? Let's see how you feel about this. Lucius said and began to use the evasion spell to have more speed than these adventurers, changing direction quickly. He attacked us so far to suddenly run away. One of the masked men spoke. Wait, look at the direction he's going. What? We can't let this happen. They were already close to the headquarters, but intended to shake off Lucius before returning to the Apollo mansion. The only thing they didn't imagine was that Lucius himself took the initiative and was heading towards their house. He's crazy. Lucius was already approaching the wall of the place and jumped over, quickly alerting some guards and adventurers in the mansion. Before anyone could react, Lucius cast spells against the location. Fireballs flew towards the structure without resistance. The walls in the mansion began to explode with his fire attack. Boom. What's happening here? Apollo was frightened by the noise and the mansion shaking like that. While he was in his personal spa wanting to fix his face marked by slaps, he just didn't expect an attack from the same adventurer who did this to him a few hours ago. Chapter 64, Apollo's Attack 02. Third-person POV. Apollo's mansion, Orario. Just like Apollo, stunned, trying to make sense of the sounds of explosions with the entire structure that was his home shaking shortly thereafter, he quickly emerged from his personal spa after putting on some clothes. Opened the door demanding to know what was happening. What's going on? He shouted quickly as he saw his children running scared down the hallway. Apollo-sama, this is terrible. An attack. Someone is attacking our mansion. One spell appeared, covered in bandages. His palom this time wasn't pretending. He was truly injured and burned by Lucius's sudden attack during the party performance. Who dares to attack the headquarters of the Apollo family? Apollo shouted and began to go out to see the author of this attack. This is terrible. He came sooner than I imagined. A timid and fearful voice was heard next to Daphne Loros. What now, Cassandra? Daphne looked at her friend with raised eyebrows. It's him. He came for revenge, she said with fear in her tone. Spit it out. Are you going to say you had more weird dreams? Her friend commented as they ran outside as well. Yes. The adventurer who hit Apollo-sama, I knew challenging him was a mistake. Are you sure it's him? And why did he seem so interested in you? He even insisted that you go to the Hestia family. I don't know. Maybe he knows about my powers. Nonsense. You just dream of strange things. That's not a skill, just your imagination. Daphne spoke. Cassandra lamented, as her visions were also a curse, and no one believed her, treating her as weird because of it, except Daphne. But that didn't mean her friend believed in her predictions. Maybe he believes in me. Cassandra couldn't help but murmur, remembering Lucius demanding her as a reward in a war between families. As soon as Apollo, Juan, Daphne, Cassandra, and the rest of the family arrived outside, they could see the mansion site in flames. They watched helplessly as the flames engulfed their grand mansion. The screams of their followers and servants echoed, blending with the explosions, and it didn't stop. Lucius, in a calculated fit of fury, continued his relentless attack. His fiery spells turned the mansion walls into flaming rubble. Apollo's guards and adventurers tried to organize a defense immediately, but the surprise and fierceness of Lucius's counterattack were overwhelming as flames flew in their direction. Apollo's adventurers, regardless of their past actions, quickly gathered outside the mansion. The sound of explosions and the roar of the fire served as a wake-up call, summoning them to face the unfolding threat before their eyes. Among them were those who had previously attacked the church, as well as other members of the Apollo family who were not present in the previous assault. Determined faces and expressions revealed their readiness to fight in defense of their home and reputation against Lucius, the relentless, mad, and unpredictable mage from the Hestia family. Swords, staffs, and bows were wielded as they organized to confront the invader. The burning flames surrounding the mansion cast dancing shadows over their figures, adding a dark aura to the tense atmosphere. You! How dare you do this to my home, you wretch! Apollo seemed like a madman in rage seeing such a thing. Once again, he was stunned by this human acting in a way he had never seen from a mortal since he came here, and he never imagined anyone among mortals would behave so recklessly. HM? Apollo, you finally arrived. You like attacking other people's houses, don't you? Let's see how you feel about this, Lucius proclaimed, his voice filled with indignation. Firebolts. Lucius cast his magic towards the already destroyed part of his house once again. Boom. The nearby residents watched, astonished, the unfolding spectacle of destruction. Lucius, in his thirst, now completely immersed in battle, showed no signs of backing down in the face of the growing crowd around him. He aimed not only at Apollo's adventurers but also at the very structure and symbols of his rival family's influence. With a part of Apollo's mansion cornered by fire, the flames danced in the now shattered windows, creating a hellish spectacle that stood out even against the morning sun's rays. Smoke rose in the middle of the city, leaving witnesses stunned. This guy was too reckless. Meanwhile, news of the conflict began to spread through the city, fueling fear and speculation. The Ganiash family and the Adventurer Guild would soon be informed, as the explosions and smoke were undeniable witnesses to a magical war that threatened to involve everyone in that part of the city. But it would take time for them to arrive. The situation was about to unfold into a battle between the two rival families, with the city as a silent witness to a dispute that surpassed the limits of diplomacy and traditional rivalry at this moment. The fate of both sides was now in the hands of the imminent confrontation, even if this imminent confrontation was just Adventurer Lucius against the entire Apollo family as they surrounded him. This wretch, besides hitting Apollo-sama, he destroys our home. We attacked his lair for revenge. I never imagined the conflict would escalate to our headquarters. This is terrible. Look at my room. It's destroyed. Let's finish him. Yes. He came alone. He can't fight against the whole family. What is this adventurer thinking? Attacking the mansion of the Apollo family alone? He's completely crazy. Does he really think he can defeat us? We are an entire family. This is unbelievable. How does he still have the courage to come here and cause more problems? This insolent. He will pay dearly for invading our home. Let's show him the power of the Apollo family. It's madness. How can he be so confident? No matter how strong he is for a level 2, facing the entire Apollo family is suicide. This audacity is unacceptable. Don't underestimate the enemy, but also don't let him destroy our reputation. Fight at full strength. Hyacinthos Cleo growled. Meanwhile, Daphne and Cassandra observed, each with their own concerns. Daphne, determined to protect her family, wielded her sword courageously to join the attack. Cassandra, distressed by the vision she had, feared for what was to come. He came for revenge, Cassandra murmured to Daphne. I knew challenging him was a mistake. Nonsense. You just dream of strange things. That's not a skill, Cassandra. We're facing a mad wizard who decided to attack our home. Let's focus on defeating him. Daphne responded, trying to stay calm. The battle began with a whirlwind of Apollo family adventurers converging on Lucius. The mage, aware of his own strength and armed with infinite magic, rose to the challenge with calm and confidence. His eyes gleamed with an intense magical aura, indicating that he was not afraid of the numbers surrounding him. Lucius raised his hand, instantly summoning a fireball in his palm. The fire spell, Fireball, rank 3, was ready to be cast. In a smooth motion, he aimed at the first group of approaching adventurers, releasing a series of flaming projectiles at a pace he could utter more rapidly with his voice. Fire spell, Fireball. Fire spell, Fireball. Fire spell, Fireball. Asterisk boom. 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 Asterisk. The firebolts hit the adventurers, wreaking havoc among the enemy ranks. However, the Apollo family was numerous and determined, and many continued advancing from all sides, prepared to subdue this mad mage. As the adventurers closed in, Lucius channeled his magic uniquely. The blessing of a mysterious ability nullified any mana expenditure, allowing him to use his spells without worrying about exhaustion. This made him a feared force since he could cast powerful spells repeatedly. Anticipating the imminent attack now coming from all sides, Lucius activated his rank 3 magical aura to stun the enemies around him, which worked well. Everyone advancing with swords and melee weapons felt the magical explosion from the wizard and a pillar that rose to the sky with it, as Lucius released the spell at full force. The blue energy pillar didn't hurt them, but the wind it generated and the initial surprise made them falter, causing them to pause their attack for a few moments. What is this? Magic. I've never seen anything like this. Don't stop. This doesn't seem to hurt. He's just showing off. One of them said, trusting their instincts. However, in the meantime, Lucius had already canceled the aura to create a spell with his ability, Charged Magic. He held the magic for twice the normal cooldown time, and then released it at once. Multiple firebolts surrounded him from all sides and were launched at all the adventurers with powerful force, catching them off guard. Asterisk boom. 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 Asterisk. Firebolt might not be the most powerful spell, but it is certainly effective against level 1 and 2 adventurers attacking him. The resulting explosion caused a momentary dispersal in the enemy formation, opening up space for Lucius to plan his next move. Watching closely, he chose to cast support spells to enhance his own abilities for melee confrontation. Spells like Strength Booster, Speed Booster, and Iron Skin were cast on himself, further elevating Lucius's physical capabilities. He moved with extraordinary agility, dodging the attacks of these adventurers after they all managed to recover from that multiple firebolt attack. As the battle unfolded, Lucius relied not only on his advanced magical power but also on his tactical intelligence. He quickly assessed the situation, adapting to the strategies of the surrounding Apollo adventurers, and responded with a variety of specialized spells from his repertoire. Exclamation point. Lucius dodged an arrow at this moment, using his quick evasion. That was close. Lucius thought as he pointed his hand at the archer on top of the house and cast magic on him. He could hear the archer feel the pain of the heat as a fireball hit him squarely. The battlefield was filled with explosions, magical sparks, and intense clashes. Lucius was a fearless wizard, facing the Apollo family with cold determination and an array of impressive spells. The true battle was just beginning, and the outcome hung in the balance of magic and strategy. Lucius summoned his Atronach in front of the level 1 adventurers. They would have a hard time facing the fiery woman, relieving him of pressure for a moment while he focused on the key members of the Apollo family. Even with his infinite magic and advanced abilities, Lucius began to feel the pressure from the relentless crowd, which did not seem to retreat despite suffering significant damage from the mage. The number of Apollo adventurers was significant, and they attacked collectively, trying to overpower the mage with brute force and coordinated strategies. While skillfully evading attacks, Lucius couldn't avoid all blows. Some adventurers managed to get close enough to inflict injuries. His level 2 resistance with support magic helped mitigate some of the damage, but the accumulation of attacks began to leave its marks. However, Lucius didn't need to exert much effort for his healing magic. Without even raising his hand or channeling magical energy, he healed the wounds on his injured points. The healing spell, Minor Heal, rank 2, began to take effect, gradually restoring his compromised health, but not his stamina. As he healed, Lucius faced the additional challenge of balancing between casting defensive and offensive spells. The Apollo adventurers gave no respite, continuing to attack relentlessly. Chapter 65, Apollo's Attack 03. Chapter size, 1856 words. Third-person POV. Apollo's Mansion, Orario. The atmosphere in the part of the city where the Apollo family resided vibrated with an unusual energy as rumors spread like dense smoke. The constant buzz of unanswered questions hung in the air, competing with distant thuds emanating from the imposing family residence. Explosions reverberated in the foundations of the mansion, shaking the structures and drawing the attention of every curious citizen who approached. The streets surrounding the property were filled with eager spectators, eyes fixed on the bars that separated the outside from the chaotic events unfolding within. An unusual spectacle unfolded, composed of adventurers engaged in frenetic battles and explosions decorating the scene like chaotic fireworks. The voices of the crowd reflected the perplexity and restlessness permeating the environment. Some murmured speculations about what might be happening inside the Apollo mansion, while others simply watched with wide-eyed astonishment, captivated by the unpredictability of the show. Meanwhile, amidst the chaos, explosions occurred on all sides, with Lucius Drakenar as the epicenter of all this confusion. Asterisk boom. Boom. Asterisk. As Lucius cast his magic against a group trying to attack him, someone faster than anyone Lucius had faced so far rushed towards him. The figure appeared at his side before the mage could react and threw him backward. It was Hyacinthos who had appeared and attacked Lucius unprepared, hitting him directly in the chest. Falling backward and evading a few more adventurers who tried to stop him at that moment without giving the mage time to breathe, Lucius couldn't help but mutter, "Facing an entire family is not as easy as I imagined, not when you're surrounded on all sides. Even being only level 1 and 2, I can't stop all the attacks," to himself, even though no one could hear amid the continuous explosions that the mage launched to repel his attackers. Realizing the need to increase his effectiveness in battle, Lucius decided to diversify his spells. In addition to offensive fire spells, Lucius raised both hands with charged magic, invoking his gravitational spell/minor gravitational field, rank 3. A sphere of gravitational energy formed around him with a diameter of 5 meters, altering the laws of gravity in the nearby area. The Apollo adventurers surrounding him suddenly felt an additional weight, making their movements slower and clumsier, with some falling to the ground without resistance. At the same time, Lucius cast his support spell/strength booster, speed booster, iron flesh to replenish effects, and quick dodge to avoid arrows that were coming his way, all executed in quick succession. Taking advantage of the confusion caused by the gravitational field, Lucius launched his most powerful explosive fireball, rank 3, directly into the center of the group of Apollo adventurers. The combination of offensive and defensive spells turned the mage into an unstoppable force, defying the opponent's expectations. Even the captain/commander did not emerge unscathed when caught in the explosion as well. While Lucius channeled his spells in the midst of the chaotic battle, the Apollo mansion suffered from the impacts of his explosive spells in the middle of the field in front of it, hitting it with stray spells. Walls trembled, pieces of masonry flew through the air, and a part of the grand mansion began to collapse under the magical fury of the mage. The deafening sound of stones colliding echoed through the luxurious corridors as the confrontation unfolded both inside and outside the mansion. The sight of Apollo adventurers being thrown through the air, some screaming as they fell, added a dark tone to the scene. It was one against an entire family, but even so, they couldn't defeat just one adventurer, leaving them with significantly low morale in a pre-war period. How can this be happening? Apollo, from a distance, had empty eyes, watching his precious property being destroyed on one side, while cracks seemed to appear all over the structure with broken windows, all this when they couldn't even stop the adventurer who caused all of this. The battle continued, and the mage kept casting explosive spells and controlling the gravity around him, but the fight was not without its challenges. Lucius felt the growing pressure of the battle, and the infinite magical energy he possessed did not guarantee invulnerability against such a large number of opponents. His exhaustion was starting to show. Even though he seemed to be winning and managing the fight, Lucius did not emerge unscathed from the turmoil he created himself. The retaliatory attacks from the Apollo adventurers were not ineffective, and despite his defensive and evasive magics helping, being surrounded by dozens of adventurers had some effects on him. Superficial cuts and bruises began to accumulate on his body more than the healing magic could cure under the continuous onslaught, and he was becoming physically exhausted. At the height of the battle between Lucius and the Apollo adventurers, when the explosions and magical spells seemed endless, a new presence made itself known. A group of people passed through the property gate, appearing in front of everyone. It was the Ganesh family, known for their strength and influence in the city's security, led by their respected captain, Shaktivarma. The members of the Ganesh family emerged on the scene, standing out among the adventurers gathering to face Lucius. Their captain, an imposing figure with an aura of command at level 5, was not alone. Iltafarna, the Amazon and vice-captain, was on one side, Hashana Dorlia was on the other, and they advanced into the midst of the confusion. Their experienced eyes quickly assessed the situation and recognized the characteristic mark of magical conflict. Enough of this. Captain Ganesh's voice resonated, imposing itself over the tumult. What is happening here, and how did it start? She looked directly at Lucius, her expression indicating a mix of surprise and disapproval, seeing that guy again whom she had hit last time for talking absurdities to her. Lucius, momentarily stopping his offensive, looked at the newcomer and realized that the situation had reached a critical point. The arrival of the Ganesh family could significantly alter the course of the conflict, and he would have to consider his next actions carefully since he couldn't fight this woman, let alone all the adventurers beside her. Captain Ganesh, with a serious look, addressed Lucius. Explain yourself, wizard. What led to this? You're in conflict within private property. Why are you always in some trouble lately? Be it inside or outside the dungeon. Her presence indicated an authority that made everyone stop attacking at that moment. Lucius, shamelessly, crossed his arms, looking directly into Captain Ganesh's eyes. His expression was firm and resolute, making it clear that he had no intention of seeking a peaceful resolution at that moment. I didn't come here for just any reason, nor do I intend to seek peace, Lady Shakti. I came to retaliate against those who dared to attack my family. They chose the path of aggression, and now they will have to deal with the consequences. If they desire a truce, let them come and ask for it after feeling what it's like to be unjustly attacked. We already have a war game underway. Even so, they initiated an attack in the city's slums, where the Hestia family lived. Lucius maintained his firm tone without wavering. He was still a bit furious about his church being destroyed. Lies. He initiated the attack. Apollo quickly shouted with hatred. Look at those masked idiots. Why are they here fighting with me after destroying my church? Lucius pointed to some members who launched the attack on the church. They came running here and didn't even have time to remove their disguises with Lucius attacking their home. Even though this wasn't very strong evidence, because everyone knew it was the work of the Apollo family after what Lucius did to the god at the banquet. Enough of this. Shakti's voice spoke again, putting an end to any further argument. You, the mage from the Hestia family. Just like Apollo-sama and his captain with the oddly dressed members, you will come to the guild with me immediately, she said with authority. Seeing that no one else could handle this, everyone lowered their guard, including Lucius. Sighing, he cast a spell to reconstruct his torn and blood-stained clothes, a healing spell to mend his wounds, and a bathing spell to clean the dirt created by the wreckage. He left surprisingly clean, even amidst the hatred. They were stunned to see Lucius leaving in that state, and even Shakti was somewhat surprised by the magic display, although Lucius seemed incredibly tired from physical exhaustion. Take care of the wounded and clean up this mess. I'm going to the guild. Apollo spoke with a bit of anger but headed to the guild with Lucius and the Ganiash family. The news, accompanied by the sounds of explosions, attracted a large number of curious onlookers around the mansion, and half the city already knew about the brawl. Lucius walked with his enemies through the city under the gaze of all the curious onlookers, hearing many rumors. They quickly reached the guild and went straight to a hearing room. Rose saw him and had a perplexed and stunned expression with concern, seeing Lucius being escorted in such a way, alongside Apollo and his family. In the guild's hearing room, where normally more bureaucratic matters were discussed, some exploration plans, but mainly family disputes with a judge, it was now filled with tension. Lucius was there, standing firm, while the representatives of the Apollo family faced the guild with a nervous expression and a good deal of apprehension. Captain Ganiash, even if she didn't like Lucius, assumed her role as a mediator, present to ensure that the situation was handled fairly and that both parties had the opportunity to express themselves. The judge was a member of the Ganiash family, and the guild leader was also present. He was another person who didn't like Lucius, and he didn't keep that hidden like Shakti. The hearing continued with the judge and jurors listening attentively as Lucius and the Apollo family representative detailed their versions of the tumultuous events that occurred in the city. In the end, it was confirmed that there was an initial attack by the Apollo family, but Lucius would not go unpunished for openly attacking the rival family's headquarters, causing chaos throughout the city on his own. This is why I hate courts. Lucius didn't like being condemned either, but he had to obey the rules established in the city. With the guild assuming responsibility for mediating the situation, it was revealed that both Lucius and the Apollo family representatives faced an exorbitant debt of 1 million valis each. This revelation caused a shockwave among those present, as the amount was considerable even by the standards of relatively wealthy families. At least we weren't banned from the city. Lucius suddenly spoke, looking directly at Apollo, who returned his gaze with hatred, wondering if this mage had any sense after all he had done. But Lucius didn't care about that. Chapter 66, Preparations for War. Third-person POV. Guild, Orario. Lucius left the imposing Tower of Babel with a disappointed look. The conversation with the guild representatives and the tribunal left him with a debt of 1 million to pay. My 1 million that I would bet on the war game. I hope the guild makes me pay this debt after the event, Lucius muttered, finding the midday sun outside the tower. As he walked to find his family through the bustling streets of the city, his thoughts were interrupted by familiar voices. In front of him, he saw Hestia, Belle, Lily, and even Reekling, the small and loyal goblin summon who had hidden underground during the church attack. Oh, I see you found me before I looked for you. Lucius smiled at them. Find? Lily heard about what Mr. Lucius did for the whole city. Lily exclaimed. All the people around them looked at Lucius, murmuring things, and they were still in front of the Tower of Babel, so there was a crowd gathered there. Hestia couldn't contain the mix of emotions she felt when meeting Lucius after the confusion he caused in the city. Her expression revealed a mixture of anger and relief, as if torn between scolding him and thanking him for fighting on behalf of the family. Lucius Drakenar, have you completely lost your mind? Hestia began, her voice filled with indignation. They destroyed our church. I understand your anger, but starting a war at Apollo's residence? Do you know how you caused chaos in the city again? How can you be so impulsive and irresponsible? She shouted in her typical lowly behavior. Lucius remained calm in the face of Hestia's reprimand, knowing that her words were justified. However, before he could respond, Hestia continued, her expression softening a bit. But, thank you, Lucius. Thank you for fighting for us, for facing those Apollo adventurers, and for our safety while fighting for us. I just wish you had found a less explosive way to do it, she said, defeated. Lucius sighed, understanding Hestia's concerns. I know, Hestia, but I don't regret or apologize for all this. My intention was to protect you and defend our family, but I admit that things got out of control. Anyway, we'll overcome this together, as we always have. Although I'm 1,000,000 Valis per for it. Lucius murmured the last part. Hestia crossed her arms, but her gaze indicated a mix of irritation and gratitude. You really need to learn to handle things in a less destructive way or without causing chaos, she admitted and continued. Now, what will we do? Bell beside her was equally lost. There was so much happening, and he seemed hesitant to take command. Lucius smiled at his family. He was a bit disappointed because he didn't even receive anything for the damages caused by Apollo, since Lucius was equally punished. The only good thing about this was that the destruction of Apollo's mansion was worth much more than the destruction of the church, so it would make Apollo a bit envious. Let's move forward. We have a war game to win. We need to stabilize temporarily and decide our plans. Lucius crossed his arms in front of the 3 members plus Riekling. Yes, Lily thinks Lucius is right. You're right. First, let's find a place to stay. Maybe the inn above Miss Mamma Mia's bar? Bell suggested. With the guild now out of the question, Lucius, Hestia, Bell, Lily, and Riekling, Lucius's goblin summon, returned to the slums and gathered their belongings that survived the turmoil. Thank goodness the books are intact, Lucius murmured, cleaning Riveria's books from some dust but untouched. If they had been destroyed, it would lead to Riveria's retaliation. Take everything you can and need. Let's organize things to go to the hostess of fertility, Hestia warned. So they set out again under curious gazes on the still bustling streets, as news of the confrontation had already echoed throughout the entire city. Mamma Mia, the bar's owner, greeted them with a mix of concern and curiosity. What the hell happened to you? You're causing trouble all over the city. Especially you. She pointed at Lucius. Hestia sighed, briefly explaining the situation. We were attacked, and our home, the church, well, it's no longer in good condition. Can we stay here for a few days, Mamma Mia? The older woman frowned, but, looking into Hestia's worried eyes, reluctantly agreed. All right, but no trouble in here. Understood? Nodding with a head tilt, the group settled into the inn's free rooms, under the curious gaze of the waitresses, which didn't escape Chloe and Anya Fromel as they approached Lucius. Lucius, Naya. Lucius, you're here, Naya. The 2 demi-human waitresses who had a bit of a crush on Lucius approached with smiles, hoping to chat with him. Hey, you two, keep working. There are still customers having lunch. Mamma Mia reprimanded them quickly and looked at Lucius. Brat, what did I say about not causing trouble here? She said with a hawk-eyed look. I didn't do anything. Lucius muttered. Anyway, they settled into the room. The 2 waitresses interacted a bit more, and even Seer came not just to talk to Belle, but Lucius also got involved in the waitress's curiosity, which Lucius tried to avoid because he knew it was Freya there. With that, they had some time to rest before starting to execute their plans. While Hestia tried to comfort Belle, who was still shaken by the series of events, Lucius delved into the remaining books of Riveria. He knew he needed to prepare for future challenges, especially those outside the dungeon. He wanted to improve his magical understanding. That night, inside the cozy bar, in the light of his mage light, Lucius avidly studied the texts, absorbing knowledge of the history of magic. He knew the path ahead would be challenging, and he needed to strengthen himself in the dungeon, but he wanted to enjoy some time with his family here before taking the plunge. Meanwhile, the noisy atmosphere of the bar provided a strange sense of normalcy, despite the extraordinary circumstances surrounding them. Faced with the unstable situation, Lucius gathered Hestia, Belle, Lily, and Riekling for a brief conversation in the corner of Mamma Mia's bar as soon as he came out of the room. We need to strengthen ourselves, declared Lucius with determination. Now that we're out of the guild, we won't have the same security. I will go to the dungeon to train and study. Hestia, take care of things on the surface. How long do you think it will take for the war game to happen? Lucius asked Hestia. I talked to Hephaestus today. She said the preparation takes a few weeks. She said, and Lucius nodded. That's good. I'm sure Belle and I can reach level 3 by then. He said, earning surprised looks from the entire family. Level 3? What madness is this? Hestia was astonished, but she controlled her voice not to draw attention from other groups since they were already the topic of everyone's discussion tonight, sending not-so-subtle glances to their table. You know Belle's status. He can reach level 3 or close to it before the war game. Lucius spoke. It wasn't a secret that the small rookie had been more active in leveling up than shown in the anime. Lucius didn't know that he himself was one of the causes of this. Belle felt like he was falling behind since the events in Riveria. He had his own adventures, but seeing Lucius doing much grander things, facing challenges fearlessly, even though he was crazy most of the time, he didn't back down with courage. And Belle was inspired by his growth. He wanted to be as strong and grow like Lucius, who always acted with confidence and a solution to the problems around them, even if it's reckless at times. Lucius doesn't hesitate like Belle does in the face of situations. His Liaris freeze was actively responding to these feelings and thoughts. I want Riekling to stay with Belle and Lily. I'll do a few more things tomorrow, and we'll meet here at night to discuss our next steps, Lucius said. He wanted to meet with Riveria tomorrow to discuss some matters. The day after tomorrow, I'll go for my dive into the depths of the dungeon. You need to find solutions for your own growth. Belle, I'm sure you can get help from one of your friends outside the family. Lucius stated the obvious, knowing that Belle would find A's anyway for training, and the young rookie nodded. However, in the midst of the conversation, Hestia looked at Lucius with a mix of concern and understanding. I don't like the idea of you going alone to the dungeon, Lucius. The city is in chaos, and we don't know who else might be down there trying to retaliate between the two families at war. Lucius put a hand on Hestia's shoulder, trying to convey confidence. I need to get stronger, Hestia. We can't rely on luck in this situation. I'll make sure we have the power we need to face anything. Hestia sighed but nodded. Let's discuss more tomorrow. Lucius wasn't done and turned to Lily in this quiet part of the hostess of fertility, away from curious ears. You know, to strengthen yourself, you'll need a proper weapon, Lily, and I've already suggested the spear you've been using in the past few days, Lucius began, choosing his words carefully. Belle is dedicating himself to improving his skills, and he trusts you. I want you to be prepared to face the challenges that will come, even if you don't have Hestia's Falna. You're still part of this group. Lily nodded, understanding the seriousness of the situation. I'll do whatever it takes to help Belle-sama and protect the Hestia family. Great. Fiona, the legendary Palum, used a spear as her main weapon. That's why I'd like you to train and develop skills with the spear as well. It can be a dagger that Belle wields to protect you, but the spear will be welcome for your group too. Riekling, who was watching attentively, brought a simple but approving and supportive response to his summoner's words. Fiona? Mr. Lucius, you can't compare me to the legendary Palum. Lily was clearly startled by the comparison. You wouldn't say that if I had a photo from my memories. Lucius murmured quietly so that she couldn't hear. Anyway, this will be your weapon, Lily. You'll need to learn to use it efficiently. Belle will be your partner, and coordination between you two is crucial from now on. Understood? Hesitating for a moment, Lily looked determined afterward. I will do my best, Lucius. I promise. That's all I need to hear. Lucius smiled, encouraging her. Belle can help you with physical training. Let's work together so that we can all face what's coming. Thank you, Lucius Cohen. Hestia spoke beside them after hearing the interaction. Don't get emotional. I'm just doing the obvious. Lucius understood Hestia's intention. Even so, you always act seeking a solution in the worst moments. Hestia seemed on the verge of tears with this. It's true, Mr. Lucius. You should be the head of the family. Belle also spoke, with a recognizing look. No, I act alone. You're the commander. That's your role. But we're here to support each other. You're new, Belle, but you'll soon learn to lead as well. Learn everything you can and strengthen your friends like Lily and Welf, Lucius commented directly. He didn't want the responsibility, and he would act alone, as his style suggested. Inside the hostess of fertility, the group remained united, preparing for the challenges that would come from both outside and inside the Orario dungeon. The determination of everyone was evident, and each member of the Hestia family was willing to grow and strengthen to protect those they loved. The next day, after a morning meeting at Mamma Mia's bar, Lucius headed to a certain district with the intention of meeting Riveria. However, He was stopped at the gate. With his family at war, Loki would remain in a neutral position, and it wouldn't be good to welcome Lucius or Belle into his home. But as he walked away, something happened, as it did with Belle. Riveria appeared in a hidden place to talk to him as soon as he left the main street. Lucius, your actions have consequences, and I know you're aware of that. But I see a determination in you to create chaos in this city. Riveria crossed her arms and spoke with a serious and disapproving tone. I acted in self-defense, Lucius said unabashedly. You're always like this. Why am I surprised? She murmured, already familiar with the habits of this human who became her student. Have you finished the books? I doubt you can now with this war going on after what you did at the banquet, she said, keeping her voice dissatisfied. Yes, Riveria. I won't be able to have my lessons with you in the next few weeks. I need to strengthen myself, ensure my family is safe and strong to face our enemies, Lucius spoke sincerely. So, what will you do? She asked with a curious look. I'll return the books, but I need something to enhance my magical understanding. Is it possible? Lucius asked, knowing his question was somewhat audacious. I have a book with my notes on magic. I can lend it to you as long as you don't destroy it, as you urgently need something to enhance your magic, she admitted and took out a notebook from her back somewhat surprisingly. Wait, were you already planning to give me this? He raised his eyebrows. Of course, why else would you be coming to me in the midst of a war game? It's too obvious, she said with a neutral tone. I appreciate this. I'll ask Hestia to return the other books since I'm going to the dungeon alone, he informed her. I understand. Just be careful, Lucius, she said, but soon the duo heard a voice in the distance. Why did Mommy disappear when that damned and fun wizard came to the gate? Where is Mommy? She can be corrupted. Find her immediately. Loki was shouting throughout the wealthy neighborhood. I guess I have to go. Anyway, good luck, Riveria said, nodding. Sure. After all this is over, I'll invite you for a date. How about that? Lucius smiled at this, but the elf just kept her neutral face. Why not take Demeter-sama or even Aphrodite-sama for that? She asked and turned quickly, leaving Lucius stunned by this attitude. Wouldn't she be jealous? Lucius murmured, looking at the elf's retreating back.